Well, I have good news for you today. Today is the first Sabbath of the time that we're going to spend together leading up to Easter, and we're just going to share the good news. The good news. This series is called The Emptiness of Easter, and today we're looking at the empty cross. There are different types of crosses, so we look at an empty cross. What did the cross really look like? There are some people who say, well, it was sort of like a torture stake, and others say, well, it was like a capital T, and then still others say it was a traditional cross. Well, what do you think? What was the shape of the cross? We'd like to invite you to get your clickers out and turn them on, the bottom button, and share what you think. What do you think the cross looked like? Was it I-shaped? Was it capital T-shaped? Or was it small T-shaped? That's the traditional view that we have. Or you don't know. Or other. You have 30 seconds to share your views. What do you think the cross looked like? I-shaped, capital T, small t, don't know, and E is other. What did it look like? You have 10 seconds. 128 of you have registered to vote so far. We have 4 seconds to go, and we're up to 137 of you said that the cross was shaped like a T, a small T. 89 of you out of the 137 said it was shaped like a small T. 4 of you thought it was a torture stake, and 29 of you thought it was like a capital T. And since none of us were there, I guess we really don't know. But I'm going to share with you today what some of the scholars think about it. But before I do that, I first wanted to tell you that the cross that we see just behind me here is a traditional shaped cross, pretty much. Some of you even have cross jewelry, maybe a necklace with a cross on it. And I just wanted to tell you that that's not the first Christian symbol. The first Christian symbol was really a fish. And the fish comes in many different varieties, as you can see on the screen. There are some of them have words, some of them are in English, and some of them are in Greek. And you see the one in Greek is given there. It's on the right, and that's what we call an acrostic. And it actually means Jesus Christ, God, the Son of God, that is, Savior. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the Savior. And if we look at those first two letters in the word Christos, we see in Greek that those first two letters really can be sort of combined into a single Greek letter, which is an X. And that's why some people write Xmas instead of Christmas. And I've heard Christians get all bent out of shape saying, oh, it's not Xmas, it's not Xmas. Well, it really is Xmas. That X just means Christ. It's shorthand. So when you write your address, do you write out the word California or do you put CA? So that's what it's all about. It's not taking the Christ out of Christmas. The X means Christ. So it's Christmas. Okay, the acrostic. Jesus, Christos, Theos, Huios, Soter. I-C-H-T-H-U-S. Those are the Greek letters, the acrostic. And if you put them all together, it spells ichthus, which in Greek is fish. And since Jesus Christ was a fisher of men, and he multiplied the loaves and the fishes, and the disciples put down their net and in the water and pulled them up, and there was so many fish. Since the stories of Jesus were surrounded by fish, then the early Christian believers came up with ichthys, fish, to represent the fact of Christianity. Now, this was not totally unique to Christianity, because the Romans also used a fish, but it was the Christians who used it with the letters to distinguish from the other crosses or the other fish. That was way back in the first century. In the second century, the symbol for Christians became a lamb or a shepherd. So we had the fish, then we have a lamb. This is actually from one of the catacombs in Rome, the picture that you see now. And it's from the second century. And then, of course, we have the torture stake. Thank you. Let me just keep it here. I won't set it there because it might fall. I have powerful preaching, you know. Some of you voted, I think actually, if I remember correctly, only 4 of you said that it was a torture stake that Jesus was crucified on. But the cross actually comes into existence about, as a Christian symbol, it comes into existence about the 5th century. And then it was generally accepted about the 7th century. But that's as a Christian symbol. Because what happened is the cross was considered so vile, it was considered so evil that the Christians wanted nothing to do with it in terms of representing Jesus Christ. So they had the fish, and later they had the lamb or the shepherd, and then later they had the cross. Today, of course, we pretty much use the cross across the board. But what we know is that there were different types of crosses that the Romans used at the time that Jesus Christ was executed. And one of the ways that some people were executed was the torture stake, shaped like an eye. There was a T-shaped cross, like a capital T. And in that case, there was the horizontal beam of the cross was carried to the execution site. That was customary. Not the whole cross, but just that horizontal beam. And then, of course, there's the traditional shape that we're all used to. So I've summarized them here again. The torture stake, the T-shaped cross, and the traditional cross. Those were all in existence in the first century. They didn't become Christian symbols until about the 5th century. The cross was the third Christian symbol. First was fish, then shepherd or lamb, and then the cross. And although the cross didn't come into existence as a symbol of Christianity until about the 5th century, it existed in the first century. So what kind of cross was Jesus Christ crucified on? The scholars and the evidence falls down on the side of the middle one, capital T. And that may be a bit of a surprise to most of you, but if you do the research, you'll find that that's where most of the scholars are. No one knows for sure. So if you want to hold on to a different belief, you're afraid to do that, please don't send your jewelry in